guy alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon By. Taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Frank from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
Oh, the off-season life. It feels so good, folks. Kicking back, watching soccer without so much stress, and scouring the country for homegrown boys that would look fresh in a city kit. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I am your host, John. So glad to be back, and alongside me is Nate Morales. Nate, what have you been doing the past few months, man?
Has it really been a few months? I feel like time means nothing when there's no Minneapolis City in my life. There was like that dead period between the end of the Minneapolis City season and the beginning of the Premier League season when I can't tell you a single thing that happened in my life or in the world.
It was like we left New Bohemia streaming the playoff game, and it was like no one talked after that.
We did just leave, didn't say a word to each other. I think we did one more podcast, and then it was like, well, time to go into the negative zone.
Right, yeah. So the negative zone is over, folks. So much to get to on this show. We'll be back into our semi-regular off-season basis over the next few months. I know you missed our voices, and we definitely missed you. You know what I don't miss, though, Nate? Is
what?
Is hearing from someone somehow connected to Duluth FC responding to us on social media about everything and anything.
Oh my God.
We do. It's like it's clockwork.
They were kind of on the high horse for a little while after doing so well. It's like the team couldn't tweet shit out without them being like, yeah, well, here's our trophy.
Right, and you know what? Good on them for winning a trophy. I take nothing away from success on the field, whether I agree with it or not. But it was just like we're doing this or that during the off season. It's like Duluth guy says this. It's like So a little bit of a reprieve from that for a while was kind of nice. But today we'll cover some news that I'm sure most people who follow our club will have great interest in. First, we will tackle the giant question mark that is the soon-to-be unveiling of what is our introduction to the retail world in the new club shop. And as always in the off-season, we tend to touch on it, but we promise to make more of an emphasis this year than in the past. Our city at school. So,
yeah.
It seems like yesterday we announced the faces of the 2018 roster, but the boys are back at school and are more than a few games in. So it seems like they're killing it, just like they did this summer. And why not dive back into what these household names over the summer are doing when they're not with us?
Yeah. Well, first, John, I think we want to get into the big news that Minneapolis City dropped this offseason. And of course, I'm talking about the opening of a club shop. The shop will be located down on 38th in South Minneapolis. It's right next door to Ted Cook's 19th Hole Barbecue. Have you ever been to Ted Cook's, John?
I have been.
Oh my God, the Ted Cook's. And it's further down the street is Northbound Smokehouse and Brewery, which is delicious to eat at. So it's a pretty sweet neighborhood. It's also a quick bike ride from my house, a good 5 minutes. So I love the location. Not the only reason I'm incredibly excited for this development, the opening of our club shop.
Well, the thing is, Nate, is like, have you ever been to Ted Cook's Barbecue? Even if you're like picking it up and not smelled like Ted Cook's when you got home, no matter how long you were there.
I hadn't thought of that. Like, that means like all the merch is gonna smell like delicious barbecue pork, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that as long as
buy two.
Yeah,
just buy two.
Buy two. Just huff your merch. What's funny, John, is Mindy and I were just talking about this as a business idea recently. Like, what's something that we could do to make some extra money? Why don't we open like a local like community soccer shop that Minneapolis City could sell their stuff at, and we could have people over for events, and the club ends up beating us to it.
Yep.
The announcement kind of came right out of the blue. Details are really, really scant as far as how it came about, and really what's going to go on inside there and what it even looks like in there. And this, John, is one of those things that you can't give us any insight in. It's not really your area of expertise.
No, if you're close to our club, there's specific silos of all the leadership and what they do, and it's no shocker to the people who are listening to this that are regular listeners that my focus is the product on the field, and it's I have some input when it comes to things like, does this jersey look cool, or
should we make this hat?
Yeah, should we make well, which was 1A on my list this summer. As you know,
get a dad hat made.
Yeah, get a dad hat made for my tiny baby head. But no, I don't dive into the business side of things as much as other folks like Dan or Sarah or others connected to the club. So yes, I don't have a ton of detail, but I do have a level of detail that's higher than the average bear.
Yeah. So here's what we know so far. The shop is really going to be more of an event space. I think just featuring like a part-time merch sales situation. Probably, right, only like once or twice a week, since it's going to be run by people with full-time jobs and staffed by people that work 40 hours a week already. Right, John?
Yeah, correct.
So I'm thinking like we've been hearing, preliminarily 10 to 2 on Saturdays, maybe once in a while on Sundays for now. Until maybe the demand is there to hire and the sales are there to hire someone a little more often. And I think it sounds like potential activities that the shop is exploring are, some watch parties for big games, a good place for member meetups, the occasional player appearance maybe here and there, things like that. As far as the merch, they're of course going to have plenty of Minneapolis City swag, but sounds like the shop is also going to be rotating in some non-club branded items that celebrate Minnesota soccer history. It seems like they've been teasing a couple of these things out on Twitter from like local artists, right?
Yeah, local artists and some folks nationally as well. We tapped up Matt Wolf to do our throwback logo and design our jerseys. So folks like that. But also one thing to not skim past is the fact that we'll be also sharing space with Stimulus Athletic Apparel.
Oh, okay.
They'll be there with their lineup of apparel from a team perspective. So they'll be able to Jason Mora who runs Stimulus will be able to also use the space alongside of us to showcase all the great work that he does specifically in the lower level soccer tier. But if anyone's interested in getting involved in getting some gear for their teams or their clubs, he'll be able to use the space for that as well.
Oh, okay, cool. So a little bit of half of the Stimulus home base, half the Stimulus maybe storefront if he's around, and the other half Minneapolis City.
Yeah, or like 60-40, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah. Right. 80-20, who knows? So we connected with Dan just today to ask him, like, why open a shop? Because it seems like a pretty great idea. It's obviously one that other people have had. I think,
like yourself,
like myself. But I think the best iteration of this right now is what Dustin is doing over at Talisman Caps, where he's really built a great community around his soccer shop. He's been able to come up with some really great designs, and people just kind of swing by and hang out. Really, they don't even have to buy anything. They just kind of chill, watch some soccer, and shoot the shit, which is kind of, I think, what we would want to do from a Minneapolis City standpoint. Dan says, pretty classic Minneapolis City. Opening the shop is just another harebrained idea that it feels like is just kind of like out of the blue, but I'm sure there's been a lot of planning behind it, and he's put a lot of thought behind it. It sounds like it's definitely going to give the club a spot to build community with the fans, and I think that's very important. I think it's important to be able to have a space where people can approach the club, not necessarily ownership, but at least the people that are involved in the club, and to kind of feel like we're all in this together. You know what I'm saying? It's going to definitely give us a home, feel like a space of our own, and I think that's really valuable for what the club is trying to do as far as building community, working with the community, giving back to the community. All a great location, a great home base for that great work that we're doing.
Right, and a good example of that would be like this evening after day jobs were ended. I met with a potential new player who's interested in joining up with City, and the conversation organically led to like, so where do I go to buy some of that cool merchandise I see on the internet? And it was, or like I said, it was organic. It moved into, well, hey, we're opening a location where you can come on down and actually try stuff on instead of
just praying. Yeah,
and him being a relative insider to what we do is still an outsider when it comes to this particular topic. So I think there's a desire for folks to not only get together as a community around soccer, but also to just buy cool stuff.
Yeah, let's just buy cool stuff. I hear that. So hopefully, it's definitely going to allow the club to do some really fun stuff within the broader soccer community, to get Minneapolis City's name out a little more, holding these events, seeing what kind of people we can draw beyond the citizens, beyond people interested in just NPSL, but maybe some people that just might be interested in soccer culture in general. So that's great. And hopefully the club will make some money off of it, and it's not just going to be you and me hanging out after hours playing Xbox, right?
Right, exactly. I think, I mean, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. I mean, it will be a place where we can conduct some of our shows from there, and like you said, just like a general meeting place for folks. And I think there's a desire for something. You look at what Dustin's doing, and he's got the traction for it, and it's not necessarily competing efforts, but it's just a home base for us, and we don't have our own ground like the Milwaukee Bavarians do, where there's a beer hall and hundreds of years of history
and a bunch of youth squads.
So we've kind of prided ourselves around not being necessarily built on a youth pyramid. So things like this are important to us to gain attention and traction with our fan base. And go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say absolutely. I think it's gonna, when you think about like all winter long, some of the players are going to be out at the Y. Some of these players are going to be out and about in town, talking to kids, working with kids, talking to people about what they've been doing all summer. And this idea that they don't have to say wait until next year to check out what Minneapolis City is all about, and that they can just say, yeah, come on down to the club shop this Saturday and talk to some people. It's going to be easier for us to get youth teams involved as ball kids. It's going to be easier to like forge these relationships with the community that we really want to start fostering. So I think it's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. And it's really groundbreaking from a perspective of fourth tier soccer. Like, I don't know anyone else who's doing this, and we've kind of prided ourselves on, Detroit, but I mean they're totally different.
Yeah, they've got their own clubhouse and all that shit.
Right. So you look at someone like us, and this is we don't shy away from being visionaries by any means,
or bragging about being visionaries.
Right. Exactly. So. Yeah, love us or hate us, we're gonna do it our own way, and this is another thing we decided to do our way, and let's hope it works.
Yeah, man. So we get our first peek under the tarp, if you will. The club shop is going to open to much fanfare on September 22nd. That's a Saturday. Rumor has it that legends from the Kicks, the Thunder, Minnesota United will all be popping in throughout the day, as well as legends from this here podcast, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will for sure be there bright and early on the 22nd to watch. I think it's a Liverpool game and chug some coffee. I am definitely excited to see what the rest of that day is going to bring. I think if you're interested in heading down there and you're interested in keeping up, my dear listener, with the goings on of the club shop, the best way is, of course, one, become a member of Minneapolis City, which you can do at mplscitysc.com. Otherwise, you can just follow the club on social media. It's super easy, and they're going to, of course, be blasting out everything that goes on in that shop on social media. So
yeah, and I think if I don't make it down there with the family in tow on Saturday, I'll be working for sure a shift on Sunday. So you don't have to necessarily come just for the first day. It's pretty much a whole weekend ordeal. So
is it?
Yeah. So if you miss me on Saturday, I will be there on Sunday.
All right, sweet. Well, that grand opening. It sounds like if you make a full kit order during that grand opening weekend, you're going to get a free goalkeeper kit. So that's pretty cool. So if you order a home and away kit, you get the goalkeeper kit for free at the club shop. Might as well.
News to me.
I'm looking on the website, and that's what it says. Buy two, get one free, basically, is what's going on. So that's pretty sweet.
Like
come
I
on
said,
down.
Buy two.
Yep. Come on down and check us out. I'm pretty excited. John, you mentioned earlier Minneapolis City is definitely in the off season, but most of our players are really still plugging away at their respective colleges. There's just so many City players worth following this fall. It could be our full-time job keeping up with them.
Well, it kind of is my secondary full-time job.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah, and staying ahead of the curve for players that we haven't identified yet.
Yeah, and so that's a lot of people to keep your eye on. But the listener might not have a chance to do that, so we wanted to make sure that in order for the listeners to catch up on all of our Crows, we're going to do some City at School coverage over this week and next week. This week, we'll be splitting it up. This week, we'll do the NPSL starters, and next week, we'll do a lot of the U23 kids, which is going to be pretty daunting considering I would say 99% of them are playing in college right now.
Yeah, you got it, pal.
But first we're going to check in on our NPSL squad, and who better to start with than Will Kidd, right, John?
Yes, Will Kidd. Most of you know him as the blonde wrecking ball that marauded up and down the field on the flanks for City this summer. And even not only just this summer, but since inception as a club. But Will is also a member of St. Thomas University men's soccer team. After a transfer year, seeing him move from Bradley in Division 1 to St. Thomas in Division 3 last season, Will took somewhat of a back seat to the likes of players such as Shea Bottom and the Oliver brothers in his first year as a Tommy. But this year, he is Captain Kidd. Mm-hmm. He was selected as a leader of the team this year, it's notable because it's his final year of eligibility in the NCAA. So we had to see Will move from more of a role player with City in the first couple of years into more of a leadership role this past summer. Yeah. And now him doing it in college, being Captain Kidd. But on the back of being named to the All Midwest Region team, Will has picked up where he left off in the summer, guiding the Tommies to an impressive undefeated 5-0 start. Undefeated seems to be a common theme around City these days. No pun intended there. But leading them, to a top 10 ranking nationally. So in that span, Will has compiled 7 points on 2 goals and 3 assists, with his most notable match coming against UW Superior, where he scored both goals in a 2-0 victory. So,
yeah. Physically, mentally, tactically, you could really tell this summer that Will Kidd was turning it up for the NPSL season. I remember I asked him about that specifically. I think it was after the after the game away at Twin Stars. I can't really remember, but
you got like a well articulated answer, I assume.
It was great. Yeah, no, I did. I was actually surprising, but he did mention that like this summer he had made it a goal to step up and to kind of take a front seat with the NPSL squad in anticipation of being a senior at St. Thomas. So partly he did it because it's just where he was with his game, but really he wanted to show the growth that he's achieved in order to be looked at as a leader and a starter on this St. Thomas team. And here he is. He's a leader. He's a goal scorer. He's really worth watching this fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
3 St. Thomas home games are notable coming up this Saturday at 5 p.m. against St. John's if you want to catch them ASAP. Otherwise, next Tuesday at 8 p.m. against Luther, and Saturday the 22nd against Gustavus Adolphus. I think I would highly recommend the games against Luther and Gustavus because they will be also featuring some Crows of the U23 variety. Right, John?
Correct. Lots of Crows on that pitch.
A lot of Crows. Check out that entire St. Thomas schedule if you want to see what Will is up to. at TommySports.com. Up next, John, Max Stiegert. I would say top 2 players for Minneapolis City this season. What's Max been up to?
So again, another member of the Crows who was voted All Midwest Region, as well as the first ever Crow to be named to the National Best 11 in the MPSL. So Max is currently pulling the strings in the central midfield for Central Florida Golden Knights. Not one to score buckets of goals, but has shown he has ahead for the game and is really in the leadership role of the engine room that is a midfield on any team that he plays for.
Mm-hmm.
The Golden Knights that he plays with in Central Florida are currently 4-1-1 with some big wins that he was part of, specifically Penn State, West Virginia, in a thrilling game that I watched, a thrilling come-from-behind draw versus number 17th ranked the Virginia Tech Hokies. Max has featured and started in all 6 matches this season, and look for him to have a big year in his final season. I don't think that his year with Minneapolis City by any means was a flash in the pan. So I do feel that they're just on the cusp of a national ranking if this week hasn't or next week's rankings haven't already been decided. I think that his side is right up there.
I think it's easy to say, John, that Max Stiegert was a huge difference maker for City this summer, and his NPSL leading all-star performance has to really just have given him this confidence that he was looking to regain when he joined Central Florida and eventually the Crows. Excuse me, I think the only way to go for Max is to continue developing and going up. I think we hopefully have seen just the beginning of Max's final couple of years of development here before he hopefully goes pro and does something great. So catch him now. He is next in action on this Saturday against Stetson U in, I guess it's a Florida squad, whatever. Friday the 21st, they'll be at Temple, and Friday the 28th, they'll be at home in Florida against Southern Methodist. SMU, Southern Methodist University. So unless you're lucky enough to travel down south this fall, you can stream all those games. On any number of Central Florida games will be streamed from the men's soccer schedule page at ucfknights.com. They've got links for watching all that stuff.
Absolutely, and that's how I do most of my soccer watching. So,
yeah, hope your bandwidth is good.
Yeah, exactly. I just upped my internet today just to make sure. So next up we have another of our top performers this summer in Max Kent, and the final of our all-region selections. Max is doing Max things, anchoring the back line in his 3rd season at McAllister College in the MIAC and here in the Twin Cities. After fighting an illness, a flu-like symptoms for 2 matches, Max started and contributed largely to a stingy Scots defense, posting a 3-1-1 record thus far on the season, with an impressive 2-1 win over perennial Division III powerhouse Wartburg. Yeah, I mean they're good at soccer, and they have been for years. But he may not get the sexy stats that his attacking friends do. But seeing that he's been part of a defense that gives up the fewest goals in the MIAC last season, and only 2 in 5 matches this season, he's doing the same things that he did to stop attacks in the NPSL.
Yeah, Max has been battling. He was battling mono for what feels like months, ever since the NPSL Midwest playoffs when he had to stay home. I remember we were at New Bohemia, and Max came walking in looking all sad and sick after licking too many doorknobs or something.
Yeah, the kissing disease.
But despite McAllister's reputation to be all defense and no offense, this year they're doing a little scoring, and you have to think that Max's aerial threat is going to start contributing to the score sheet now that he's got his feet under him and he's fully healthy. The Scots are away for a few weeks, but if you want to take a little drive, they're going to be at Carleton College September 22nd down in Northfield. But you can next catch Max at home against Concordia College, the Cobnobbers, on Tuesday, September 25th. But make sure to circle Saturday the 29th on your calendar, folks, because that is the Kid Kent Showdown, as the Scots will cross the street and square off against St. Thomas Saturday, September 29th.
Perhaps that's...
that was a game you and I were at last year. That was a fun game.
I was gonna say perhaps it's our annual brunch and tailgate.
I'd love that.
The Scott's Tommy matchup.
Let's do it.
All right, book it down. Maybe we'll start out at the team shop. Who knows? Who knows? So next up we have Siku Chroma. So after joining City last year through our open tryout process, Siku really flashed signs of baller status in limited action with the Crows in his first year. The window was always open for him when he stepped on the field to do something special, but kind of the knock on him was putting it all together for long stretches of a game while he found his NPSL legs. It's really what kept him kind of off of the field. As the summer grew on, he found his groove, and with that, we thought in the City headquarters that a year of college soccer would really do him wonders. And boy, it started off very well for him. He latched on at Marshalltown Community College this fall and has picked up where he left off with a bang. The 16th ranked team at Marshalltown in the country. He is featured in all 6 matches this season with 4 starts, on 8 points with 3 goals and 2 assists, including 2 goals in the first 2 minutes of his first ever college match.
That's not bad, man. He was ready to rock.
Yeah, right.
How amazing joining the team as a freshman and you get 2 goals in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's doing real well.
College feels easy at that point.
Right, yeah, it makes your math test a lot easier.
If you're anything like me, you really had no idea that the community college soccer scene was so competitive locally. But Siku is lighting it up, and I think it's another instance where Minneapolis City was able to really build the skill and the confidence of a young player like him. Because when he was on this summer, he was on. He was striking and assisting with speed and with guile, making some moves and making guys look foolish.
Setting up goals.
Exactly. Like, you can only imagine how he's going to look next year after a full year of college soccer, continued growth, continued development. I think he's going to be definitely a player to watch. If you want to dip your toe into the world of community college soccer, you can check out mccathletics.com. Maybe take a day trip to Iowa and see what's going on in Marshalltown.
Yeah, why not? Soccer's fun. All right, next up we have Juan Luis. So coming into City last year for Juan in his first season, after his first season at Drake, and off being freshly named Gatorade High School Player of the Year, Juan took a bit of time to adjust the physicality, I believe, of the North Conference in the NPSL. But as the season grew on, so did his minutes on the field, with his most memorable performance coming with a game winner in the 80th minute against the hometown Green Line rival VSLT, which pretty much shut the door on their season, and really was kind of his coming out party with what he really can do given more time on the field. In his second year at school, he's found it much harder to come by minutes in a very veteran-heavy center midfield, but he has featured in all 6 matches that has seen the Bulldogs go 3-3 with a very impressive 2-1 win, which he featured in versus number 9 Butler. So as he did this summer, look for him to increase his exposure on the pitch as the season wears on.
Yeah, you talk about a guy that really grew into the game last summer. It looks like Juan is going to have to draw from that experience if he wants to break through at Drake this season. He's another candidate for a road trip, definitely, to head down to Des Moines. This Drake team lines up against some serious competition, John. Loyola Marymount out of Chicago. Bradley, they've already played Butler, like you said. They've already beaten 2 ranked teams this year, both Butler and Illinois Chicago. So if you're thinking about heading to Des Moines, check out September 29th against Central Arkansas. Seems like it might be an easy game.
Stat game?
Yep, stat game. But maybe October 20th against that Bradley team that Will Kidd used to be on. Looks like the next real marquee matchup for Drake. So later in the fall, keep an eye on Drake. Luckily, Drake is frequently featured on ESPN3 or ESPN Plus, it looks like. So I don't know if you got a solid cable package. You could probably keep up from home.
If you got Rich Kid Cable.
Rich Kid Cable. I like it.
Yeah, if you got Rich Kid Cable, you can catch a lot of these games.
Yep. Let's talk about Goose, man. We haven't seen hide nor hair of Goose since he hurt himself in our opening home game, and I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, so blasting out of the gates in year one with the Crows, winning our Young Player of the Year honors from a club perspective, then becoming a marked man in year two that saw Goose win Offensive Player of the Year, being our leading scorer. He found it extremely hard to break into a very talent-rich side that was national runner-up in the University of Indiana in his first 2 years. Then coming back to a City side where, as you mentioned, high expectations, but then we saw him lost for the season due to an ankle injury in the first match, which is very disappointing, I know, for both himself and for the team. Like I said, high hopes for him, but a transfer of scenery has sparked his play as he has moved to the Big East from the Big Ten to play for the DePaul Blue Demons, a very soccer-rich program in the Big East. Currently sitting on 3-3 to start a very difficult schedule for Goose. He's featured in 4 games while scoring his first goal with the side, his new side, in a 3-1 win versus Loyola Marymount.
Sweet.
So as his, as I see it for him, more opportunity in I shouldn't say a less talent-rich environment, but Indiana basically gets position battles that are like 3 guys that play on the under-17 national team or on the under-20 national team. So different there than at a DePaul side that's had historically very solid teams.
Yeah.
But a lot easier for a guy like Goose and his talents to be able to stand out in that environment. So as his playing time increases, look for him to get this on the stat sheet a lot more as the season carries on.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that Drake schedule, the Goose's Blue Demon schedule is like Drake's on steroids. Like if being in the Big East, right? Like if Goose continues to contribute, he's going to have to do it against the likes of like Ben Wexler's alma mater at Providence, which will happen on Friday night, tonight, if you're listening when this podcast comes out. They go up against Sam Forsgren and Tommy Katz Northwestern University, that same Butler team that Drake goes up against. And then, of course, the Creighton Blue Jays featuring another Crow, Duncan Whirling.
And Luke Atkinson.
Oh, yeah, Luke plays over there, too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a team to keep an eye on, and they stream, it looks like they have links, or at least they stream all their home matches through their team site at DePaulBlueDemons.com. So it makes it really easy to watch a lot of this great talent from around the country, and to keep an eye on someone like Goose if you're really a Goose fanatic. I don't know if there's
a friend of the
feather. If you're a friend of the feather, that's fucking great.
I can't take credit. That's a quote from the movie Major League.
Oh, still. Or you can take a trip to Chicago if you want. Enjoy a home match against Seton Hall on October 6th. That Butler game on the 13th, or maybe that big matchup against Creighton on October 27th. That'd be kind of a cool trip. Chicago rules.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to live there, but I do like to visit.
That's right.
So next up we have
just like Kansas City.
Yeah, love visiting Kansas City. Don't think I could ever live there. I don't think I'd be allowed to live there, I guess, from what happens when I visit. But anyways, I digress. So next up we have Ian Smith, not one to get the accolades because of his position of strength, is really doing the dirty work. Steve, as he goes by at these parts, not necessarily in those parts, has been part of the Phoenix of Green Bay, and he's now in his 3rd season, which seems like only yesterday we shipped off his baby face to college. He's no longer the fresh upstart underclassman that came in after being the youngest player in club history to feature for the Crows in a match. And also, another city trivia question, he was also the youngest captain ever to lead the Crows in a match.
Oh, when was that?
That was against La Crosse in his 2nd season. So so last season, not counting the one we just finished. Steve has just been flat out killing it for both club and for the Phoenix ever since he went to school. And coming off of last season's Horizon League championship, the Phoenix are undefeated at 4-0-1 this year, including opening up a brand new state-of-the-art soccer facility where in their first match in their new home saw Steve set up the game-tying goal in a dramatic 1-1 come-from-behind match versus Hartford, where he saved the day on their new ground. So look for him to continue to do Steve things. And then also challenge for another league title. I think they have the talent in the horizon this year, but also, they've beaten perennial league power Cleveland State on the road already. And this just might be the year where we see Steve enter the NCAA tournament.
That would be awesome. I think, the Horizon League, John, not the sexiest conference to follow in America, but keeping an eye on Steve's development kind of makes it worth it if you're up for the challenge. It's great to see him more involved in the offense, setting up goals. That's pretty cool, and really rounding out his skills as a midfield threat, and I think that's going to be something that he does over the last 2 years of his college career and with Minneapolis City here. UW Green Bay is not big on streaming, but you might have luck catching one of their away games against maybe one of the bigger schools they play. If you want, but, of course, always best to watch soccer in person. If you want to round out maybe a nice trip to see the fall colors in Door County, I don't know, with a Phoenix game, they play IUPUI on the 22nd. But really the one to watch might be October 20th's matchup against nationally ranked UIC, that is University of Illinois Chicago, another team that who beat them? That the Tommies beat recently. Was it the Tommies or was it Drake? Anyway, we already saw that. I've been looking. We've been looking at a lot of schedules today, folks.
Yeah, we're already forgetting shit.
A lot of results.
We just started the podcast again. We're already forgetting shit.
Let's talk about someone that we didn't see a ton of, but we still want to keep an eye on this offseason.
Yes, Tommy Katsianis. Tommy was a bit of a mystery this year with the Crows due to Northwestern being on a weird trimester schedule from a school perspective. That didn't see him finish his semester out until well into the NPSL North Conference schedule in the end of June. So coming back for a brief stint with the Crows before he was whisked away back to school by his coaching staff, the Crows fans did not get a glimpse of what the city staff saw when we picked up Tommy. And I say that with as much conviction as possible. But the accolades for him at school speak for themselves. He was voted Big Ten All-Freshman Team in his first year last year, being his team's top point scorer with 7 goals and I think 15 assists. So can obviously do it from the central midfield role from a point perspective. Tommy was also voted this year at all Big Ten preseason honors on the heels of that. He's already featured in all 6 matches for the school, starting in 4 of them, all victories in which he started in. So maybe start the kid. I don't know. I'm not that. I'm not a clairvoyant by any means, but maybe start the guy who's carried you to 4 victories. But they're 4-1-1 on the season, and he's scoring game winners like he did last year. Last year he scored 5 game winners, and he already has 1 this year in a hotly contested match that I did catch online on my Rich Kid cable against Valparaiso. So let's hope that we can get this kid back next summer for more than 1 week.
Yeah, John, I think it is true. We only got the slightest of looks at Tommy Cat. And
he only played in the lacrosse game, which we tied.
I know.
And it was
scoreless.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I think while he's obviously a talent, like that's twice when it comes to Tommy and Sam Forsgren, it's twice that City has really been bitten by this Northwestern schedule. So I have to wonder, like, it's nice to have these guys on the roster. It's nice to train with them and to kind of give them that off-season opportunity and build that goodwill. But is it really worth it to hope to see them at all over the summer? The way things are working out, it feels like maybe not. But still, it is. To me, he is like you said, he is a kid that you want to watch because he does excite of anyone we've talked about tonight. Tommy Katsianis does the most exciting shit in games, and it is you can't help but watch him and just say, God, what if he came back for a little bit longer this year?
Right. Well, I think to answer your question, the reason why you keep a guy like Sam Forsgren, who if we'll dive into City folklore a little bit. In his first game with City was against Madison 56ers with 11 guys, coming off of a plane back from the Euros in France, where he gets off the plane, hops in a van, drives to Madison, scores 2 goals, sets up the game winner, and kind of just like you're like,
and then
God damn it,
and then like
why can't
fades off into the sun, like walks off into the sunset like the Incredible Hulk or something.
Yeah.
Like my work here is done.
Right, exactly. And but a player like him or like Tommy, putting them on the roster, excuse me, and bringing them in when we can have them back. It's like in baseball where you get into playoff time and you can make that kind of late season trade to bring in a piece that you might need to make a run at a playoff. So that's what we looked at with Tommy, knowing he wouldn't be back till late, but thinking like, so if our center midfield from attacking perspective is tired, what better way to ignite that than having a guy like him come in, even if it is for a limited time, and obviously it was very limited this year.
Yeah.
But you keep him in your mind when you're building a team, when you're coming from my perspective, that he can do those things, and you just hope you get him back.
Yeah, that's fair. I get it. I think like I'm with you. Like I really hope that next season, if he does come back to Minneapolis City for the summer, he will be able to contribute a little more and really help us with that end of the season push, because like you said, that our midfield gets tired.
Right.
This year we were dancing that line by the end of the season where we almost didn't have enough people really to cover. So if it weren't for the depth of our U23s, we'd have been in serious trouble.
Right.
Check out some games like you said, John. Rich Kid Cable features Northwestern quite a bit.
The Big Ten Network.
Yep, they play Indiana on September 25th, which is going to be a huge and awesome game. Like you said, Indiana is a perennial powerhouse full of national team call-ups. So that's always a squad to watch. Michigan on the 29th, Penn State on the 6th, and DePaul, we've talked about them, on October 9th. So check that out either in Evanston, Illinois, if you want to make a trip, or ESPN Plus, ESPN3.
Big Ten Network.
Big Ten? Do they have him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big Ten Network has quite a few. They're the games from the conference on. I don't necessarily know if they're all Northwestern games, but
nice.
But I mean, Tommy to me is probably playing at the highest level of any of our college players.
Yeah.
And he's not just playing at that level; he's contributing at a high level at that level. So, definitely check him out. Check him out. See what you could have seen in Pink and Black this summer. So we are almost at the end of our City at School segment for our NPSL players. So the last player is one that was not with us this summer, but he will be back next summer. So we have to talk about him, or it wouldn't feel right. Kevin Hoof was an original member of the Crows in year 1 and played a key role in year 2 and with our Stegman's organization. But with some hiccups due to his coursework at school, he was forced to spend the summer up in Marquette, Michigan, sorting things out to stay on course to graduate on time. Which, I mean, what other reason would you have to stay up in Marquette, Michigan? Yeah. He was literally the first ever soccer player that the school signed when they went into the men's soccer world. And starting off his final season as a 3-time captain of the squad, which is very rare in college soccer. After the program's growing pains saw them fall more times than not on the losing end, this season could be the year for Northern Michigan in the old GLIAC conference.
Yes.
As they're off to a fast 2-1 start, Kevin has done what he's always done, starting and playing every minute of every match in 3 fixtures for Northern Michigan, and I hope this is his year. I really do, because he put in so much work to help build this program that in his last year, I would love to see it work out for him. And I really do miss this guy, and I can't wait to have him back next summer.
Yeah, Kevin is in a really unique position among our city players that are away at college. Then not only is he, not only are we covering him because he's playing at a high level at college, but really there's a like you said, he's founded this program. Like, he's definitely a leader. He's emotionally invested in this program. He is someone that is helping to really build something up there, and that speaks to his character a lot as much as it does his skill level. And that's why we love Kevin Hoof. Is he's just a great guy with a great character, and he's we wish him all the best up there in Marquette. Is Marquette one of those places where you're going to be able to stream online, John, or is this kind of a check the box score in the morning paper kind of place?
It's a little A, little B. I mean, you might get a few of their away games, similar to some of the other schools that we follow our guys at. But yeah, box score checking would probably be where you'll find out more of what Kevin's up to.
Cool. Great guy, great player. Wish him all the best this season, and I hope he's able to find some success up there at Northern Michigan and in the GLIAC before he graduates and moves on to something bigger and better. And that is all for this episode, folks. Thanks as always to our sponsor, Summit Brewing. It's Oktoberfest season, John. I love it. It's time for one of my favorites to hit the bars and liquor stores. Wait. I'm talking Summit Oktoberfest. This fall, it's time to grab a Summit, grab a hammer, and start schlogging. Summit. It's a more meaningful brew since 1986. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it is time to give to the club that gives back. Minneapolis City is, of course, a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game. Look for us all year round playing with kids in parks and community centers all around the city, and consider a tax-deductible donation to what is truly a city-focused organization.
Come to the club shop.
Yeah, come
all year round.
Yeah, we're always there. Build community. And send us mail. It's easy. You got to just hit us up. You can hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch, or hit us up on email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. Did Bryn email us? I saw he tweeted that he had a question for us, and we may have forgotten to check the email. We'll answer.
It was the depths of the off-season, Bryn, so we'll breathe life into that one soon.
Well, I just realized that he mentioned something on Twitter that he had a question for us, and that of course we hadn't had a show yet. So we'll check that out next week. Thank you, Bryn, for all your emails. But somebody else, please email us.
Right. I mean, before we have to put Bryn on the payroll as a content creator.
Finally, as always, you can hit us or hit the club up at MPLS City SC on Twitter. Make sure to do that to keep up on all the club shop news. And let us know what you're looking for out of this off-season show. We will be back next week to break down the U23 boys and talk about how their school campaigns are faring, as well as offer up what is now our annual thoughts on what is the latest edition of EA Sports FIFA title. I think this is our third year, John, of breaking down FIFA. FIFA 19 is coming out September 25th or something, and let's just say so far we're giving it a meh.
Yep.
But listen more next week, because that is all for this week. We once again will leave you with House MC Miles Stockman Willis, aka Malaise, with a new track for all of y'all called Loco. I'm Nate. John has been John. We will be back next week, but until then,
you got oofed.
Got a lot of the ball lately, balling on them like a ball bearing. Solo local pulling hair, crazy. Run the show like I ran errands. Soon start going ball, maybe. People staring whatever I'm wearing. Wanna make you a star, baby. Chromosomes are the perfect parent. She way more than alright. Bad bitch in her genotype. Damn right, I'm tryna pipe. Only ride if it settles right. So high that settle like goosebumps from the linen. Goosebumps cause she's sinning. Touch her ink, that's hinting. Drop the tape like I'm finished. I should live in Finland. Couple homies speak Finnish. Pen a drug, penicillin. My pocket pissing is filling. My inner drive at the ceiling. Despicable how I'm feeling. Millions like minions. Rap star / rap czar. Build a team support not far. They bring the whole PR. If only a sliver in my health bar. Underdog the way I come back. Overcast make them run laps. In the club raining cats and dogs. Where the fuck the umbrellas at? Shooting magic bullets, know I got the juice. Got a big head, need a wider noose. Can't feel my face, still it's kinda loose. Been the truth, not of the proof. Chain look like glitter glue. Other chain got a darker hue. Take a cruise, tip the whole crew. Whole fridge from Whole Foods. I'm rock hard, stoned off lime. First time that she rock climb. Treat me like some rock candy. Now she wants a rock wine. Well worded with a slight slang. She the same cause her tongue rang. Throw shade when she sunbathed. 50 bands with my art hand. gang. Just some G's and G eventually. Villas chillin', we just venting, speaking French and hailing Frenchies. Trying to get the dream eventually, even if it takes a century. I don't wanna be a Benji decree to lead the gentry. People starving, truckers, Bentley money, we greed it. And we pat down for the entry, each assembly. What? If they don't want us, then fuck it, they're lost. Team on my back, I still carry the cross. About what I like, care less about the cause. Writing with diamonds, I'm like Robert Frost. Life is a movie, the scene is just saw. You at the dentist, I'll leave you in awe. Tell you what it is, laid on the law. Flicking you off while I'm rolling the raw.